All right, week 15, day one. This week we are focused on accessibility, and this is, I think, our second or third week of accessibility in the Designerama. Um, and you'll have some rehashing here. With accessibility, oftentimes you're always going to do some sort of evaluation of an existing experience, consider it from a different perspective, provide recommendations for how to move forward. But there are some fun tasks in here, fun things that you can do that would support moving forward differently with different types of exercises, such as voice commands and so on and so forth. Day one, though, is just conducting an accessibility audit of an existing app and choose something either small or do a quick accessibility audit on a small portion of, or pick out major things in uh, a mobile app you use often or a website that you use often. Again, conduct a quick one and focus on visual motor and screen reader issues. There are tools like Wave DevTools or XDevTools built into your browser that you can potentially use. Check for contrast issues, missing alt text, focus states, form labeling, ARIA notes, and maybe pick 3 to 5 if they're relatively quick. Do a few more if they're fairly complex. Maybe you can stick to the 3 side. But in this case, make a point of document them and communicating them in a way that would be beneficial for you, advocating for changes in a work environment or in a professional environment. Maybe you direct the document toward stakeholders or toward developers. And think about how you might have that conversation and how some sort of visual output, whether it's a deck or a PDF or just annotated in a whiteboard, that would support you in having that conversation. Day two, design a voice controlled interface for a smart home device. So pick something like lights, a thermostat, music, security, any other smart device in your home or one that you find is compelling, and build that voice controlled interface. Pick 1 or 2 tasks, maybe 2 very simple tasks or 1 fairly complex one, and script the commands and the system response, and think about things that could go wrong in that flow, and consider how the system might respond to that and help course correct, get back on track, and making all the decisions necessary to complete the task. This is a really great way of thinking through an alternative way of working through a workflow, and will really get you thinking for potentially someone who doesn't have the ability to interact visually or physically with a screen. Day 3, create a layout optimized for users with low vision. And you could create this from scratch, or you could rework something. Maybe pick something that has a level of interaction. I mean, you could pick a content page and rework it, but maybe it would be beneficial to pick something that both had content and input, and make it usable for someone with low vision or aging related impairment. So think about contrast, larger targets, consistent structure, so something that they can anticipate and understand by scanning without a lot of in-depth reading to understand what's happening. The flexible spacing, and simulate it using something like Chrome's Emulate Vision Deficiencies or the No Coffee extension. So just to demonstrate how this may work and what it may look like, and annotate the key decisions you made to improve clarity. Again, with accessibility, we should all be really focused on it, but it is one of those things that's a part of the user experience where sometimes you have to advocate for it, and there are times when people and stakeholders and organizations understand that it is necessary, but there are certainly times where you have to really speak up for it. So get in that habit of annotating things to facilitate conversations where you're advocating for change. Day 4, write alt text for a complex data visualization. This one's fun. because you really do have to think about what the data visualization is communicating. If you're looking for complex data visualizations, they're kind of all over the place. I know that for a while the New York Times was really good at creating interactive infographics that were fairly complex. Maybe that may be too much of a stretch, but choose a chart infographic. It could be yours from the web, and write effective alt text or a longer text alternative for it. So, how would you communicate with someone who either couldn't see it at all or visually couldn't interpret some of the nuance of it? And how would you clearly communicate what a data visualization was showing? So things like key trends, data points. And try to be concise and meaningful. Prioritize clarity, not exact values in this necessary. And so it may mean that you have to summarize it a bit. And draft the visual and non-visual versions side by side for comparison so that you can show how you are accommodating for the non-visual with the visual, or the non-visual with the visual and the visual with the non-visual. Day 5, test an app with a screen reader and document the issues. So there are a number of screen readers that you can use. There are some listed below, but pick an app or a website, use the screen reader, and just note how it works for you. Pick out points of confusion, frustration, or friction. Now, this exercise wouldn't necessarily be a replacement for a full analysis of an experience, but it's definitely a great starting point to help you see where potentially there are issues. So generally you would understand all of the challenges that may be experienced, the common ones and the non-common ones, and how the accessibility standards are written. But then you would go and use a tool like this to experience them firsthand and basically do just a quick check on experience and see where things are surfacing, but know what they are first. So that is week 15. That is the set of accessibility challenges for week 15. They are a lot of fun. They're fairly tough. They're starting to get a little more advanced, but make sure to get the most out of them. Focus on that 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hours, however much time you have limitation when you're sort of anticipating and planning what you're going to do, and give them a shot. It should be fun. Looking forward to seeing everyone's output.